So, beloved masters, greetings on this day. These are amazingly powerful times. And as Easter is past, and the word ascension has been talked about a great deal, I want to talk about how the energy shifts that are going on are going to definitely influence humanity, because everything has flowed in a relatively consistent way over thousands of years. There's been many changes, but as your separation from yourself, from each other, has progressed, you have become more and more feeling down, feeling depressed, feeling low. And the word ascension is something that many people find themselves craving: to ascend, to rise up, to leave this place. So let's talk a little bit about vocabulary, because in these times, how you speak, even when you're thinking to yourself, how you are using your words is going to be so important. You can say anything you wish. You can speak as you always do, and people will know what you mean. But when you speak in words that maybe to your logical mind seem overly elegant, that may seem too proper, and yet it is that those words put you in a flow of graciousness, of a feel of being higher within yourself, more positive, more powerful, clearer. Even finding words that you feel express what you are experiencing even more than the words that you have known. And there are times when I'm speaking with you that I pause to consider the words that this world has to speak, and the fact that the necessity for a new languaging is really going to become more and more imperative, because when you're no longer talking about purely physical matters, when you are talking so much more about energy and its essence, when you begin to feel your thoughts so much more, when you begin to experience that sense of inner connection. A lot of people are experiencing it now and then, but the more that you connect with your inner self, the more you will find that you begin to desire to be in that energy. When you change from something that you've been, shall we say, addicted to, but you began to shift into a different level of awareness, whether it is how you eat, whether it is how you feel in your body, physically, mentally. And as you connect within, more of the feeling level than the emotions. And as you begin to ascend above the emotional world, when you begin to feel almost rarefied energy within you, as though you're standing on a mountaintop, but it's inside of you. And so you feel that higher frequency. You experience more joy. And as the logical mind wants to find a reason for things to happen, spirit simply says, this is the way it is. So you feel joy, and you may be looking around to see, why do I feel joy? And logically, you may not find a reason. But if you feel negative, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're frustrated, logic can find ways to point out why you are feeling separate or low, as the world might say. So as you are moving into higher energy within yourself, and you could say, dearly beloved masters, this is practice for the becoming, because you are going to be moving into higher levels of energy. The very aspects that we talked about in the new moon in Aries are a changing point where your energy is going to be moving into a new direction. No longer, well, that was the new moon and it happened, and now we move on to something else. But as you connect within, you begin to establish, so even your mind can consider that everything is connected. Everyone is connected. So logic has said, well, if you are trying to ascend, then those people that aren't trying to ascend or not even considering it are going to hold you back. But when you turn that around and you begin to feel within yourself, as I am ascending, my energy potentially is assisting some people to start their ascension, to begin to lift up out of the doldrums of the old order. So again, the power, power is a word the world loves. Inside of you, you are dynamically, directly connected to the energy of the planet. It's connected to you cellularly. It is an energy that can lift you up, fill you up, or if you're fighting, it can cause you to feel depleted. But as you are considering within yourself, ascension is moving to a higher place. So you could look at the earth and say, right now, in many ways, the energy of the planet is flooded with a lot of negativity. And when there's a flood, you look for higher ground. So within your emotional makeup within, as you ponder, as you consider, as you put more thought, as you hold your focus on finding higher ground, looking within you and discovering that feeling of being lifted up, of being joyful. Because cosmically, universally, planetarily, there is actually a lot more joy than there is sadness. There is a lot more delight than there is depression. Even though in this physically oriented world you live in, you hear more about the painful negatives quite frequently. But it is time for each one of you to feel within yourself, I am connected. I am totally in unity, if I will allow it, if I will accept it, with the divine. I am one with all that is. And logic, as it would want to define what that means, can get very caught up in separating connection out and trying to figure out exactly what that means. Because being connected really is a word of higher frequency. Belonging is a word of higher frequency. The logical mind may think about the word belonging and move into the places of why I don't belong, how I don't belong, and when will I belong. But as you focus in your inner space, on I belong. And how does belonging feel feel to me? Not some definition you were given of this is what belonging is, because so much of where humanity will move now is away from what they told me this would be like to the inner connection of this is what it feels like to me. This is my experience. And yes, many people on the planet will find themselves climbing up out of dark places, climbing up out of a feeling of being stuck. And as each one begins to make a, an effort, a personal effort to really discover, how do I feel? I've thought about a lot of things that, as I thought about them, I didn't feel so good. But as my focus shifts to ascension, to rising up, to moving higher within myself, as I experience the energy of higher frequency within myself. Some of it may feel very strange. And here again, the logical mind can get very worried because if it doesn't recognize, doesn't know something, it can become disturbed about it because it's unfamiliar. And logic is not particularly enthusiastic about stepping outside the box. Logic wants the same routine, the same way, the same look, the same places, and then it can complain about them. But if it doesn't understand it, if it doesn't know it, if it feels strange, other than complaining about the fact that it's strange, there's no familiarity to rail against. And so even the uniqueness of these times and what they will bring you within yourself, if you are willing to allow yourself to explore the inner terrain within you. You've been hearing a lot about all the changes that are occurring. It may seem that when you're looking in the realm of the other than physical, you find a lot of people talking about these changes. You find a lot of directions about how to ascend. There are rituals, There are programs, there are teachings, and all of them are helpful. They may not all be helpful for you, but all of them are there to assist someone to come up out of the pit of logical thinking. Because logic is moving away into the past. Yes, you still think similarly, but you will find that the way you think may be changing even as we speak. To know that you may be in the midst of a really good depression session when all of a sudden you feel within your heart, soul, your solar plexus, a feeling of joy, maybe even a feeling of laughter. And of course, logic knows that what you were thinking about was nothing to be laughed at, and yet inside of yourself, it's as though you have swallowed a lot of champagne bubbles and they're beginning to tickle and burst, and you feel giggly within yourself and light for no logical reason. Because what's going on out there in the heavens is dynamically influencing each individual on this planet. And how the aspects astrologically influence your own personal blueprint, your horoscope, the blueprint of your soul, your map of divine direction. And so, as you are ascending, you may find yourself feeling led to some of the tools for getting to know yourself, learning about your inner world, even how to redirect the desires of your life in a way that frees you, in a way that puts you on a new path. The choices that you make are so important because the choice you make 1,000 times a day, great ones and small ones, those choices are how you, as a divine creative master, are designing your life. Those choices put you on the path, not a path that everyone's supposed to find, because everyone is seeking to come to center, to know themselves, but each one comes to that ascended place, that high point, where you come up over the limits of your life and you discover your own personal freedom. within. Free to be me. And you can stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself and affirm, I am becoming free to be me. I am freer today than I was yesterday. And I will continue to experience new freedom. I will continue to realize that I am vitally important to the whole. Who I am is an important part of this earth. Who I am and who I am becoming is absolutely necessary. I am new. And I am free. And I will continue to spend time each day in the process, not only of liberating myself, but affirming that there is so much more to me than I have known, so much more that I can become, reaching to what I have believed are limits, and then reaching beyond them. Reaching to new heights. For the process of ascension is not a process that just happens. You go to some other place, you're standing on a mountaintop, because the ascension process is how you are permitting yourself to become more. How you are becoming more. There is absolutely no comparison between how you are choosing to seek the heights in your life and how others are. And yet, logic has said, this is how we do this, and therefore, this is how you must do this. Because if you're doing it different, you must be wrong. And the truth is that even if it looks as though someone is making a mistake, and I assure you, dearly beloved masters, that the divine does not make mistakes. The divine does not see your flaws. The divine holds you in a place of absolute love. No measures, judgments, limits, judgments, no judgments. We hear people say, but how can I live without judgment? Very easily. As you honestly, energetically feel, not just think, but feel from your soul center. Every thought I have is creation. Every thought I have is creation. Now, logic has put a lot of walls and filters around that amazing truth. But every thought that you have puts you another step on your path. And so, beloved masters, as you are feeling higher energy, as you are thinking higher thoughts, as you are making a sweet, loving effort within yourself to move away from those things in the world that you cannot change. You cannot change that there is a war. And you cannot change that there are people doing cruel things. It's not your fault. But if you spend a lot of your own personal energy dwelling on the negatives of what they are doing, then you are contributing to what's going on. And that, dearly beloved masters, not about guilt or shame or fear or doubt, but the power of your capability as a divine creative master. Kindness, compassion, love that isn't limited to certain people. I can love them, but I can't love you. A love that loves first within yourself. It loves you so that you have a clarity, a certainty within you of what feeling loved means. How you experience love. And dearly beloved masters, as you experience love within you, you will also begin to learn about yourself. Where do I deny love? Where do I hold back? What subject matter will take me away from love? How does my fear prevent me from feeling as though I belong? And as you find those resistances to the ascension within you, that's where you love the most. I love and forgive. Forgive. Let it go. I love and forgive my fear. When you put your fear, which is an illusion of the logical world, and yet it's become very real to many people. To care so much for yourself and for all that you love that you are clear. What am I putting into the world? What am I adding to the energy essence of this planet? I can't change them, but I can contribute my own positive, powerful, uplifting energy. I can consistently, for myself, feel joy, look for love. And logic says, well, what if I don't? Remember, perfection is a path to the grave because if it's perfect, there's no growth, there's no life. It's done. So you're not perfect. Yay! You're not perfect. Thank God, God is all that is. Because God, God is all that is are not perfect. If they were, I wouldn't be talking to you today because all of this would have ceased eons ago. So you are a work in process. You are growing all the time. You are becoming, in these times, more than you've known yourself to be in thousands of years. This really is, dearly beloved masters, the homecoming. But coming home to yourself doesn't have a there. Well, there, now I'm home with myself. Now that you are home with yourself, how does it feel? How does it feel to be you in a positive, powerful, clear, belonging way? How do you feel about you? Because now that you are home, you may look around and say, we've got to clean the house. We've got to let go of the sadness, the difficulty, the anger, the fear that we've been hoarding for a number of lifetimes. And as you letting go of those old negative, weighty things that perhaps have filled your house so that you can hardly get around in it. So enlightenment comes as you let go of the darkness that you've been contributing to with doubt and fear and anger and frustration. And so cleaning your house right now in the southern hemisphere, it is moving toward autumn. In the northern hemisphere, it's spring. So those of you in the northern part of the earth can clean your houses and bring light into yourself and lighten up the energy that's going on in the northern part of the earth. And then as spring comes to the southern part, they can also contribute their cleansing and enlightenment. Now, it doesn't mean that people in the southern hemisphere can't clean house now. Nothing is all one way. Nothing is all one way. God, Goddess, all that is, has created and created and created forever. Universes, the cosmos, the star systems, suns and moons and stars and planets, on and on and on. And they're still operating. And you have been gifted with the tools of creation so that you can be a partner, cooperative in this venture of your life with God, Goddess, all that is. As this old order of measuring and judging passes away, and the need, very often quite desperate, to be better than others, to only be satisfied if you are superior, as that begins to be changed in the higher vibrational frequency of the planetary energy that is shining on the earth now. Expand yourself. Expand yourself. Open up to you. And realize that there is so much that is becoming available now in this time as the earth is transforming in a whole new way. You've heard for years to think outside the box, live outside the box. And some did, but many didn't even attempt to investigate what it might be like outside the box of limitations that the logical world has built. And there are those that will be absolutely assured that I am attacking everything they know. But beloved masters, it's simply that I desire that you understand that what you have known is passing away. And it's passing subtly. And then there will be times when it seems to have passed quite blatantly. But it is to know. It is to know within yourself that you have the abilities to create most anything you desire according to the highest good of all concerned. And as you expand, as you know more, as you explore your inner world, you will be astounded to discover how much there is for you. How much there is that's been waiting for you for eons of time. It's been waiting for you to wake up and come home. But you couldn't do it altogether until it was time. And now it's time. And even though you may not have heard Gabriel's horn, you have experienced things within you that make you feel different. And they're only just beginning. Because every soul on this planet is birthing into a new energy frequency. You're walking into it. You're living into it. You are discovering why you haven't found it. But it isn't to give up, because you discover why you haven't reached that point of expansion yet. It is to allow yourself to go within. If it's required, imagine that you're standing on the top of a mountain and you can see vistas for hundreds of miles. You can see what's happening on the earth. but you are far enough above it to see a lot of it very differently than you would see it if you were right in the middle of it. And it is that overview, the view of an eagle that can see for 100 miles or more, and yet can see details as small as a rodent running across the ground. You have that, but logic has taught you that that's impossible. And gradually over time, you've been lulled into accepting that's impossible. And now, revelation is opening you up to a whole new perspective of seeing, of listening, really listening, rather than, well, I thought I heard them say. Find out. Take the time to get clear for yourself. Take the time to make sure that you are not deciding to make a war based on some falsehood, or that you are deciding that someone else has got to be put into their place because of what you thought they said. And so to be gentle with yourself in these times of transformation. It has seemed like things were going quickly up to this point. The last year was a year that most of humanity is still attempting to realize happened. And there are those that are still saying, I can't believe it. And yet it happened. But that's impossible. But things are becoming quite possible that logic has said were impossible for so very long. The walls are falling, the veils are dropping. There are still people who are living in their own fortress, or they have their own curtains drawn. But more and more people are really beginning to experience in themselves, I am required to change. I cannot wait for them to change because I'm beginning to understand that their changes change them. But if I refuse to change, their changes just are another way for me to be uncomfortable. Because if I don't change, then I cannot appreciate the changes that others make. And the change to really loving yourself, the change to really caring for who you are, the change that brings you home is happening. And the field of vision is opening up because many of you had no idea that there was an inner space. Oh, you may have heard talk about it, but you didn't take the time to check it out within you. And more people, if nothing else but out of curiosity, are checking out their inner space. They're looking to find what all this talk is about. Going within. How can you go within? There's just your physical organs in there. But when you go in energetically, you move into an unlimited space that vibrationally operates beyond the density of your physical vehicle. And many of you, as this year passes, may begin to look at yourself and say, it seems that I'm more transparent than I was. It seems that I glow. Or someone may say, you glow. And you go and look at the mirror and maybe you'll see your own glow, maybe not yet. But if someone tells you you glow, you're going to begin to start paying attention to see if they were right. Proof. The earth is still relatively logical. And I need the proof that I've accomplished whatever it is that I feel like I have. And this is why the changes, beloved masters, into the other frequencies, moving into higher consciousness, allows you to mentally and emotionally perceive life from a very different perspective. Because I assure you, you're changing. And, oh yes, the logical mind will do its best to hold back. So there is more and more determination in the outer world to keep the focus on what terrible things are going on. There used to be a little bit of advertising. And years ago, when many of you were children, the advertising was more about soda pop and candy bars. And yes, at one time, cigarettes. But now, in this point where the logical order is passing, everything is about drugs. And all the drugs are portrayed as the thing that's going to make you happy, the thing that's going to make you free, the thing that's going to do it for you. But even if you take a drug, even if you have a number of drinks, you still are the one that gets to respond to you. You may experience the responses of others if they don't particularly like what you're doing, but it's time to really know clearly within yourself, what are my own motivations? What is leading me to the choices that I make? Forgive taking a poll when you're ready to make a choice. I'll email, call, text 50 of my friends. What would you do in this situation? And 25 of them may say, I wouldn't do that. And 25 may say, I think I would do that. And you're right back where you started, because in the final end, no matter what others think, you are the one that makes the decision for you. And humanity is moving out from under the weight of other people's opinions. It isn't about telling people, you can't tell me what to do. You've done that for lifetimes. It is about discovering within yourself comfortably, with great reassurance and love, that I can listen to what others say, but there is nothing in the divine contract that ever said I have to do what they tell me to. And yet logic, over the eons of this particular journey, has assured humanity that there are those in high places, those that are religious leaders, those that are political leaders, those that are warriors, those that are philosophers. And what they have to say is far more important than what you feel for your own life. And that is why we are having this discussion today, because that's ending. And you are being energetically called within yourself to remember you and understand your own place in all of this. You are important. Yes, you are very important in your own life, and getting to know yourself is vital for each and every one. But who you are and what you do and how you think and where you put your focus has an energetic influence. It isn't about words. It's about energy. And you energetically influence the whole. And it would be subtle because there's 8 billion people. And yet, the dynamics of what it's about could have such an impact on other people's lives. Are you paying attention to the choices you are making for your life? Because as you make them in love, that love goes out and it influences others. Not because love says you've got to do it this way, but love says it is time to know truly who you are and to love deeply who you are and to let go of what you have judged yourself with, what they have said. My childhood and what my parents said, or what the other kids at school said. And certainly that is really coming to the surface in the revelation of many hidden things, secrets that have been kept quiet just under the surface. I call it the underbelly of the earth. And now so many of those things are coming to light. So many of those things are being revealed, revelation. And yes, as each one is revealed, you will have thoughts and opinions and considerations. There's a lot of how could they do that going on the planet today? Because as we are listening to humanity, a lot of people are waking up out of their fog and saying, how could people do those things? Only to find that as they began to get clear, people have been doing those things all around them for lifetimes. And maybe they were even some of those people that were doing those things in other lifetimes. Even if I wouldn't do that, I'm not that kind of a person. But you've become who you are in this time through lifetimes of experience. You're not just a being that was born in a certain year in the last century or two. You are a soul that has infinite experience. And the logical mind says, well, that's really scary. Is it really? Or is it expansive? You've wanted freedom. You're getting it. You've wanted more. It's more and more available. How do I get it? From the inside out. Because what has been attained in the illusions, especially in the last 500 years, has been less and less and less for the totality of humanity, and more for the few. But that is not how this planet was created. It was created equally. That the people that were on the earth were all aware of their capability as divine creative masters and their desires to live on the earth and love the earth and make sure that she was cared for and that they could enjoy what she is about. Now, logic would say, well, there's too many people on the planet. And that's why all of this is happening. But the truth of it is, dearly beloved masters, so many of the people that are on the planet right now are not aware of how many others there are. They're just living their own life. They really aren't even paying attention to what others are doing. They're just doing what they do. So becoming aware in this time is waking up to a planet that has a lot of people on it. But as each one is willing to imagine plenty, to feel plenty, the space that I love, the house I live in, the land that it's on, I love that space and I enjoy it. And there is plenty of earth. And people are very adaptable. You find people living in places that, let us say, those in the United States of America would say, that is an impossible place to live. No one could live there. No one could survive. And yet they do, all over the world. So whatever you desire in love is potentially yours. It's only when the desires begin to desire to destroy other people's dreams to get their own. When there is such a wall around the heart and soul that there is no consideration of the pain and suffering that might occur for other people. only what the logical mind, the ego mind wants. For a long, long time, the planet didn't have wars. And again, logic will say, well, there weren't that many people. You really don't know that. You've been told that by logic. But the people that were here understood cooperation. They understood caring for the whole. They understood I am one in the midst of all of this. I am a part of every bit of it. So every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every drop of water is mine to love. If you have a house on it, it's still mine to love. Not mine to take away from you, but mine to love. You travel. You go anywhere in the world, and everything you see becomes a part of you. Every experience you have is a part of you. Because even though this physical form looks very solid, you are pure energy. So, dearly beloved masters, ascension means coming up over, rising up. And these are times for humanity as a whole to ascend. And the logical mind says, well, then we better hurry. There's no finish line here. So there's no rush to get there because there isn't really a there. You are transforming where you are in your own way. The necessity, if you would say that, is, are you going to be there for yourself and understand that your love can love everyone? Because that's why everything was so peaceful in the beginning on this planet. And many would say, well, what's going on now is intelligence. But thoughts, knowledge, I know that, is like bread without wine, without the wisdom of love, without the experiences of ages. Knowledge can become destructive. And so to find the wine, the essence of spirit in your life, you have the physical things, the bread, but the wine of life makes the communion, the dedication of self, complete. And so, dearly beloved masters, in these coming times, you will discover more and more of yourself. You will learn more and more about others. You will find things that astound you, both positive and negative. But it is to remember, I can't change them, but I can definitely change my perspective of what I am sharing with the world. And as you stand in a higher place, ascension, rising up, you see a bigger vista. And you see details you never saw before. And you see things that make your heart sing, not just things that make you cringe. So rising up is not just a physical, I moved my body from the valley to the mountain. Ascension, rising up, coming up over is pure energy. It is allowing your loving thoughts and feelings to transform you into what you desire to be. And if your desires are to conquer, if your desires are to deny, if your desires are to accrue billions of dollars, you can do that. But it is to remember that every choice you make influences the whole. And logic says that's too much responsibility. If you feel it in yourself and you feel to create your life what you would desire to experience out there, then you will make the changes that will start the earth and the next phase of your journey to be so much more. Learn about yourself. Get to know who you are. Spend time with you. Don't avoid yourself because you become something you don't like. Have compassion and give yourself the opportunity to rise up over. We are with you. And we are, as best we can, calling all to remember that you are beloved. Remember that you belong. Remember that you are one of a kind, and there's not another one like you. That doesn't make you estranged. It makes you amazing. And so, beloved masters, in the greatest of love, we walk with you. all along this way. And we delight as you experience yourself for the beautiful being you are. In love.